So this morning, we are privileged to have with us the mayor of Greenwood, the Honorable Brandon Smith. I've asked him to come in and speak to you a little bit about what's going on in Greenwood, what we're anticipating in 2026, and what we can do as citizens to either support or address some of these issues within the community. He's going to share with us his thoughts and ideas for about 15 minutes, and we're going to open it up for questions from the floor. Mayor?
Thank you, Alan. Appreciate your service. Learn something new every day. Well, welcome, y'all. Thank y'all for having me. I'm underdressed. I don't typically like to come looking slovenly like this, but everybody know Coach Howard Green, tennis coach. I think he's a member here at Morris Chapel, but he's a tennis coach at Greenwood High, and I told him I'd come play in his tennis tournament against little old ladies, which is very difficult for me. I'd rather miss a shot than hit an little old lady with a shot. So anyway, just a couple things in terms of what we've got going on in Greenwood. One thing I like to start with is our youth. I'm really excited about tapping into our youth. We created a Mayor's Youth Council several years ago. I know some of y'all are familiar with it. Some of your children have been in it. I've been at the table in a lot of violent crime task forces over the 7.5 years that I've been mayor. And one thing I noticed was that I was the youngest person in the room. And as much as I would love to think that I identify with that young generation, I have 3 teenage sons at home that remind me on a daily basis that I do not identify with that generation. And so when we talk about violent crime, which statistically is by young men between the ages of 17 and 29. I was a young man one time. I know I look around a lot of y'all. Some of us were young men a lot more recently than others, but I remember the angst that goes on with that. And so, what we were trying to do is find people who wanted to find young men and women who wanted to be part of the solution, who may live across the street from someone who is part of the gang culture or the illegal gun culture, and understand why they came to us and wanted to be part of the solution, whereas their neighbor may be the one causing the problem. So we serve as basically a youth leadership Greenwood program. We take them around. We really kind of, the first few groups were kind of guinea pigs. I think we finally got our group under control now in terms of the programming and the strategy. We take them around. They meet healthcare leaders. We had a judicial session a few weeks ago where they met all the judges, circuit court, magistrate, city court, probate, family court judges. And at the courthouse, we were at public safety. We were at the fire station last month. We'll be at the hospital next month, the Burton Center the month after that. All these kids also have to perform an hour of volunteer service a month. I don't think that's unreasonable, considering they're all on their phones many hours a day, and attend one city council meeting and one county council meeting per year. So in addition to a youth leadership Greenwood type program, we also want to get ideas from them in terms of ways that we can, youth perspectives on issues that face Greenwood. And also ideas to attract productive young adults once their formal education is completed, whether that's high school or technical college, 4-year degree, master's program, whatever. And while all these kids may not choose Greenwood when their formal education is over, and if they don't, we certainly invite them back to visit whenever, we at least want their perspectives on ways that we can attract productive young adults. So I'm proud of the leaders in that community that we have, and what some of the ones we've already had have gone on to do at Lander and other places. So that's one of our big focuses on the youth. That's one of my things is recognizing, whether it's the mayor's game ball, recognizing young men for their sports performances without their helmets on and getting to know them as young men. Next weekend, I don't want to keep it all to young men either. I'll have the Greenwood High girls basketball team over because we hope they can go all the way this year. Yes, ma'am. But a couple things in terms of what we can do, what y'all can help us do better, and I'll steal the old line: ask not what Greenwood can do for you, ask what you can do for Greenwood, because we really need it right now. One of our big focuses, my family and our certainly administration, is on cleaning up Greenwood. And I truly, maybe I'm the eternal optimist, I truly believe that we are making a dent in the litter that we have here in Greenwood. You may ride down the road and say, what are you talking about? I mean, it's a mess down there, and I don't disagree. Sometimes I do feel like we're just kind of hamsters spinning and just picking up trash, and 2 weeks later, a road looks just like it did before. But I truly believe that we're making a dent, and not only in picking up the trash, but getting to our youth and teaching them to break that cycle and not follow an example they may see their parents or grandparents or guardians or whoever, and not replicating that. And that's the Mayor's Youth Council annual project, is monthly trash cleanups with groups basically sponsoring or adopting trash pickups. So we're fortunate here in a couple weeks to have both Emerald High School Athletics and Next Level Fitness. Everybody familiar with Hoot Harrison and the great program he's doing over there with our youth at Next Level Fitness. If you're not, he would certainly be a great speaker for this group especially. But anyway, a lady came to us on Monday and expressed her concern with illegal dumping in our city, and I could not agree with her more. She was definitely preaching to the choir. And like I said, I don't proclaim to have all the answers, and that's why we're here in a group like this, because any ideas and any efforts y'all have, I'm approachable. I know, and I speak on behalf of our administration and city council, we're approachable. Any ideas that y'all have, any ways that we can attack this problem, because what we see, this lady that came up and spoke to us, sweet lady, and I could tell she's one of the ladies that tears at my heartstrings because she feels trapped in her community. She takes care of her property, her yard, but her neighbors are trashing her area, and that leads to unwanted activity in an area. So we need groups, whether it's the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, whoever. We need groups coming together to help clean up Greenwood. We have monthly trash pickups, and I tell our kids, it doesn't have to be some type of organized activity either. You don't necessarily have to always get credit. If you see something in your neighborhood and you can clean it up, please do so. But if anybody is looking for opportunities or group activities, please reach out. My wife, Tara, does monthly trash times with Tara. We have a city-county trash coordinator. Her name's Amber Napier. She does a great job. I think sometimes her job is a little misunderstood. I think they think that she's literally out there from 9 to 5 every day picking up trash, and she does a lot of that also. But she helps coordinate so that a larger impact can be had. Another big topic I'll try to tackle is roads. For example, I get a lot of calls about Edgefield Street. I am aware Edgefield Street is not the best road in our city. Unfortunately, the vast majority of roads in our city are not city-maintained roads. They're either county or mostly DOT maintained roads, and Edgefield Street is one of those DOT maintained roads. there's a website that you can go to check to see which roads are city-maintained roads and which roads are DOT-maintained roads. So we're aware of those issues and pass along every issue that we see and that we get reported from constituents in the city. If it is a DOT road, we pass those along. The good news is, specifically with regard to Edgefield Street, it's my understanding, while it was supposed to be repaved back in the fall, that it should be repaved first half of 2026. Thank goodness. And so while we're talking about Edgefield Street, I'll kind of segue into the West Side master plan that we have over there to rejuvenate the West Side. If everybody's familiar with the West Side community, back there's off of Edgefield Street, kind of anchored by Macedonia Missionary Baptist Church, off of Marion Street back there. We have a master plan to breathe some neighborhood vitality into that area, in addition to roads, some improvement with lighting, and some other affordable infill housing that, again, government's not going to fix all the problems. So we've got some great partners with regard to the former Habitat for Humanity, currently Greenwood Home Repair, and some other nonprofits like Vision Greenwood, of which I sit on the board, to in addition to Macedonia and Holloway Grocery, to really breathe some neighborhood vitality into that area, because it's a historic area back there that needs some love and has been probably neglected for way too long. I'm a very impatient person, and so I would like to see that done yesterday so that we can move over to where we are here on the east side of Main Street. But at the same time, I want to make sure we finish a project the right way. So I really look forward to finishing that project, taking some successes and bringing it over to, again, some areas on the east side of Main Street that have probably been neglected for too long. But when we're talking about roads, I mentioned Edgefield Street. I met yesterday with our city manager, with our Upper Savannah Council of Governments, just because they're kind of the source we go to in talking to the DOT about long-term road planning. And we know that's important because we know Greenwood's growing. So we've got to continue to plan for the growth that we know is coming to Greenwood. The area between Atlanta and Charlotte, the Piedmont, Greenville, Spartanburg, Anderson Metropolitan Statistical Area, is one of, if not the fastest growing area in the country. And we know that growth is coming south. And there's people that are choosing to live in Greenwood because of better quality of life, slower pace. And we certainly want to avoid the issues, especially with traffic and infrastructure, that Greenville has experienced. And so we know there's a lot of growth, a lot of building. I feel we've taken every development that's come before us very seriously, but at the same time, we recognize there's a lot that's come in recently, and so we are looking forward to updating our city-county comprehensive plan. Should be done by early next year, and it really can't come soon enough, so that we can make sure areas are zoned properly, because most of the development that you see around here didn't have to come before us for rezoning. They were already zoned for some of those properties. And of course, there are folks that have property rights to develop as they're zoned. But we want to make sure we're doing it responsibly and growing Greenwood responsibly. So with that said, I'll kind of hit on some of our successes. I hope some folks have been able to visit Grace Street Park. Anybody been there yet? All right, great. Anybody sled down there on the hill last week? No, I was a little too scared to break something myself too. But maybe we make for future years. Maybe we make that a hill and blow some artificial snow down there, because everybody seemed to have a great time. But that was a success of the capital project sales tax. That was one of the projects that benefited the city. And I will tell you, I was completely unaware of the number of skateboarders that we had in our city. 35 years ago, they used to say skateboarding was a crime. It's not anymore. We embrace skateboarders, and we would see skateboarders uptown at our uptown market. And while we love to see them out there burning off some energy, they were tearing some stuff up uptown. So we wanted to give them a designated place to go. And I'm telling you, I have been blown away. I thought maybe the newness of the park would wear off a little bit, but I guarantee you could go out there right now. It's 30 degrees, and there are probably young men and women out there skateboarding, rollerblading, biking. And what's been really great to see, a good friend of mine, Chris Pope from Pope and Burt, is out there with his son, CJ, who's learning to skateboard, and some very experienced skateboarders are out there teaching our younger generation how to skateboard and maybe not break a wrist also in the process. So that's been great to see. The pickleball courts, the pump track, and really the connection and the visibility of what is phase 2 of Gray Street Park and tying it to the existing portion, phase 1 of Gray Street Park that we have that some people didn't even know was there because it's kind of hidden. So I'm really excited about the success of that. Some of our other parks, we updated Magnolia Park, a brand new park on the south end of town, Foundry Road Park. It's not the Taj Mahal of parks, but it's a recreational area that the south end of town really needed. So anyway, that's just one of the successes that I've been blessed to see finally come to fruition. We've got a really tremendous group in the Parks and Trails Foundation who's done a great job in helping plan that out. Some of y'all may be volunteers. George, Charles, I know y'all, and Billy Nicholson and Klaus. I joked that we've been planning that park since Klaus was a teenager. He's 98 years old and still out there helping work on that every day. So anyway, I've kind of rambled on enough, but would love to turn it over if anybody has any questions before I go play some little old ladies in tennis.
Bluetooth mode.
Any question? Here we go. Anybody with questions? I do have one. How do the youth that are in the first counts that you're talking about, how do they come into that, or can we nominate people into that?
Absolutely. And I will say a lot of the kids that are in the group are high achieving kids that are involved in a lot of extracurricular activities, but that we absolutely are asking groups like this to nominate kids that may fall through the cracks sometimes because we want a good cross section. The group is open to any kids that live or go to school in District 50. I'll tell y'all, don't tell them, but I have not cut any kids. When kids sign up to be part of the solution, maybe I'm a softie, but if a kid signs up to be part of the solution, I can't. My goodness, I can't cut them. We do have attendance requirements and ask a lot of them, but anybody that wants to be part of the solution, I'm there for them. Yes, sir.
Thank you for what you have done over the years. I have been very vocal of you on Facebook, but one thing about it, I notice how you take that and you try to continue to serve everyone. So I thank you for that, and I really admire that of you throughout the years. So I have a two-part question. With that being said, I'm a big advocate of term limits, and I was wondering, are you going to run for this upcoming election? And my second question is, you spoke of the West Side revitalization. If I'm a citizen and I see things in my area that needs improving, what are the steps that I need to take to possibly get the same results as the West Side revitalization?
Sure. I'll answer the second question first. Is certainly feel free to reach out to me or our administration anytime. If you see something, please let us know. we have a great team of public works employees and city staff, but we can't be everywhere all the time. So if there's something that needs addressing, please let us know. I will say, as I mentioned before, it is frustrating. Sometimes, having been in it, you want to see things resolved immediately. Sometimes I get frustrated with how long things take to get resolved, whether it's illegal resolution of illegal dumping, street lights, whatever. Sometimes the process does take too long. But please, if you ever, and this goes for everybody, of course, if y'all ever see any issues, let us know. Because if maybe it's a street light or a sidewalk, and that's something that CPW has recently repaired and needs to attend to, we will make sure to get the right folks involved. Second, to answer your first question, I certainly understand the term limits. I am running again, and there's some things that we started that I'd like to see through. I'm running again. I certainly hope that I have the support, and I feel confident that we've gotten around to everybody, but I am running again. I will tell you, there will be self-imposed term limits at some point. My friend, I will say, and I understand both sides of the argument. I do, and it's a really kind of a bipartisan. I go to Democratic meetings. I go to the Republican meetings. I saw Ralph Norman speak. He's probably the most conservative member of our House of Representatives, and he's in favor of term limits too. So it is a bipartisan thing. But on a local level, I do feel like there's some things that we've started that I'd like to see through. At the same time, my good friend, the mayor of Greenville, Knox White, when he finishes this term, he will have been mayor for 32 years. I can promise you that will not be the case for me. But I do think right now it is too important. Where we are right now, some of the things that we've started, some of the initiatives that we've got in place, it is too important right now. I would feel like I was abandoning Greenwood, and I love Greenwood too much not to. We sit here February 7th of this year, and it's a long time until election day. But I certainly would love the support. It is a nonpartisan election. We don't run as Republicans or Democrats, and I've got great friends in this room. I've got great friends on the other side. But I do feel at a local level, and we got great folks on council who are, Matthew Miller is a proud member of this group right here and work really well with him. But I do feel like on a local level, I enjoy the nonpartisan aspect of it because you get to know someone as a person. And that's nothing against the work that y'all do and the convictions that y'all have. I just enjoy that. Someone asked me about Columbia or Washington, D.C. It's something I personally couldn't do because I just feel like you get so mired down in Columbia or Washington. But I do appreciate the energy that y'all bring to the table. And but yes, I am running again. Thank you, Ricardo. And Gloriana, enjoyed having her in Mayor's Youth Council, and your niece Sydney now too. So.
Good morning. I have
Yeah.
two questions, and they're both process questions. What do we have to do to get a public pool, which is much needed? And also, how can we get some sort of ordinance or expectation that businesses put trash cans out in their parking lots? And that really speaks to, I know it's one facet of our trash in the street problem, but it's amazing to see these massive parking lots, and people are just, I don't know, I'm optimistic that if a trash can was 5 feet away between their car and going into the building, they might actually drop it in. But those two processes. Mayor, what do we need to do to make this happen?
Oh, gosh. Again, I'll answer the second question first. But it is so frustrating to me. I'm not going to call out any specific businesses because I don't want to do that. But I go to parking lots and see some of this stuff, and it frustrates me. Just the other day, I went to a business, very prominent business, that continues to have trash issues. And when we pick up trash, especially we pick up trash on the rights of ways. So when trash is on private property, which what you're talking about is commercial property, it frustrates me because they're a business. That's their job to pick up the trash on their property. But at the same time, I went to this business who continues to, has never really resolved the issue. And I said, look, I know y'all are private property, but if you will agree to let our mayor's youth council come in here and clean this up with you as a start, I need you to recognize that this is a problem. Typically, we do not come on to businesses' property and clean them up. But for this one time, we will come in there. If that kickstarts your inspiration to keep it clean, we're happy to do that. We've got code enforcement, but they can only do so much. I mean, it's like whack-a-mole, kind of. You would hope that, sometimes some of these businesses, I feel like they thrive in spite of the trash. The easiest thing to do, and sometimes I have tenants come to me and ask us to enforce it, and I say, well, have you talked to your landlord? Because we ultimately can, but we're stretched thin with resources. But the first step is to talk to your landlord, and if your landlord blows you off, then come to us. But sometimes I feel like people are surprised to learn that's their first step. Your first question, the pool. For the pool, and I know Bishop McCrae came to us with that several years ago. I would say the best process for a pool would be to approach it from a capital project standpoint. Again, some of these things take time, as with roads. We talked with the COG yesterday about roads that undoubtedly won't be finished until I'm done with my term. But it's something that from the planning process standpoint, you got to get in line now. So I would think that would be a great capital project sales tax to put on the next referendum. I will say, I've spoken to y'all before, I believe in our capital project sales tax, the one that was voted in 2016 and the one that was voted in 2024. I believe in those projects. I will say I believe in the local option sales tax even more so, because I believe that if we had the local option sales tax, we probably wouldn't need as many capital project sales taxes. I know y'all have limited amount of time here. It may take more than my time to explain the difference between the local option sales tax and the capital project sales tax. So I'm happy to explain that at a different time. We had that in the local option sales tax on the referendum in 2020, and it did not pass. One thing I will say with the local option sales tax is what I am asking our legislature to do. Basically, the local option sales tax is a penny sales tax that would provide funding. Basically, 71% of the money generated with that use or sales tax must go to reduce property taxes. The other 29% generated is split between county, city. There's a kind of complicated formula as to how that goes. But one thing I can understand voters not voting for was that it applied to everything, including groceries. And we understand folks may say, the big thing for us was with the influx of people here on a daily basis, estimate is between 35 and 40% of that tax would be paid for by people that don't live in Greenwood County, that come from Lawrence, Edgefield, Abbeville, McCormick, Newberry, Saluda, or beyond, Greenville, Anderson, Spartanburg, Union, that come here to work, shop, play, whatever, on a daily basis. So that's why I think it makes the most sense, the same reason that the capital project sales tax made the most sense. But I would like to see our legislature allow us to exempt that penny sales tax from groceries, because we know folks that are struggling to make ends meet, that's not an added burden that they need.
Two questions. One, the Grace Street and 72 intersection, it's kind of became bumper land. And if we need to get some way, because we're we're growing. And then the other question is the mall where Ollie's is at. Everything's improving around except for that one, and I know some of the businesses in there are just about to pull out because of the condition of the roof and the back.
You're talking about the Ollie's Shopping Center,
Yeah.
the Omni, right?
Yeah, with Omni and the church on the one end.
Right. Again, that's private property. I'll be a little coy. I am optimistic that a second life will be breathed into that specific shopping center sooner rather than later. That shopping center was built in 1989. I was out there with Satterfield last week. The same guy that paved it in 1989 took a look at it and said, "This was my first project, and it has not been redone in 37 years." So, again, while it's private property, it's commercial. I am very optimistic that a second life will be breathed into that sooner rather than later. And it's, it takes investors to take a risk on something like that.
I was wondering about if there's any
There we
future
go. I was looking where that microphone was.
for infrastructure. 72 is terrible to drive through. They're building thousands of houses, but the roads aren't getting any bigger. Traffic's terrible. Are there any plans?
There are, and that's why I mentioned why I feel like it's so important that we get ahead of this with the COG. Now, some of these developments, we've had traffic studies done that show while it's stretching that our roadways can support it. Now, certainly our roadways need to be updated and widened, and some of the things you may see are outside the city limits, or back and forth between the city limits and outside the city limits. But yes, one thing I am nervous about is a proposal in the legislature, basically from the state, which a lot of these roads you're talking about are state roads, is to basically give roads to municipalities without funding. And that concerns me greatly. And so that's what we're going to need, y'all's help and a lot of urging to our legislature. Look, if that's something you want to do, we'll sit down and talk about it, but we're going to have to figure out a structure where we can dedicate the resources. You can't just give us roads and say good luck with them, ones that without some type of dedicated revenue to support and maintain those roads. So whether it's, I see a lot of these uber, conservative proposals that, again, I'm happy to talk with anybody if they've got a better way, if there's a funding structure that makes sense, but just simply handing them over, it's basically like an unfunded mandate. You can't just give us these roads and say good luck in finding the money. These are state roads. They're going to have to help us. I don't know that that's going to pass, but that I don't think that's the solution to the problem. But it is frustrating for me when, and I know I speak on behalf of our council, it is frustrating because the vast majority of roads in our city are not city maintained roads. It is frustrating at the same time not to have control over that. So if we were able to have more control, and DOT, I don't want to throw the DOT under the bus. It's just a larger bureaucracy and things take longer. If we were in control on a local level, I'm optimistic we could get things done a lot quicker.
My question is more of a national issue that's coming home to local communities. And I wonder if you and the council are starting to formulate a plan or a response to active ICE interaction in the community. I'm not talking about whether or not you support ICE. I'm talking about all of the instances where we see people snatched out of their vehicles and the vehicles are left in the road with the keys in them, still running. And then, or they have their homes damaged or their property damaged only to find out later, oops, you were a citizen, that was a mistake. Well, now what's their recourse? How do they get made whole? They don't have any way of identifying who the people were that attacked them and abused them and caused their property damage. And so how do they get made whole, and what do we do about that? I know that there are some mayors that are starting to put together legal observation teams that are not there to interfere one way or the other, but to document who the perpetrators are, so that now when you go further down the road into some sort of a legal action, you've at least got an idea of who the people were that created the problem. So are we?
Yeah, and I've talked to our chief and sheriff about this. I think we're fortunate not to have had any type of chaotic influx of that so far. I'm sure you never know, but our officers do work closely with federal agents, and in that regard, I think that's a great idea. In working closely with them, understanding that process, so that you can know. I watch some of this stuff on the news. I'm certainly no fan of the approach that is being taken, but my goodness, as a lawyer, I see this as a lawyer's. I mean, there's going to be lawsuits and claims filed everywhere. I think some folks aren't concerned about that, but I see that to be a real. I mean, I'm kind of winding down my legal career to pursue some other, trying to help my dad out in some of his business ventures, trying to get him to slow down. So I'm kind of winding my legal career down in that regard, but I look at it and I think of all these lawyers out there that are just going to be itching to sue our government and with some of the approaches that they've taken. So I think you're going to see that play out, but I am confident in our local public safety, and I'll tell you, I'm a big fan of our local safety. They're human beings. They're not perfect. And so any ways we can ever improve from a local level, we always want to know. But as a CALEA certified public safety body, I know that they would be in step with what's going on. They may also not agree with the approach that is taken, but I'm optimistic that they could help document what's going on, to answer your question. Fortunately, I again, knock on wood, I don't foresee that chaotic situation coming to us, but we will be prepared if it does happen.
Good morning, Mayor.
Hey, Charles.
I just want to say quickly that we want to thank the city government, the mayor, and the county government for the Greater Greenwood Parks and Trails. We advocated for them to come together and help fund the cleanup and the maintenance of our parks. We have West Cambridge, we have Magnolia, we have the Gray Street Park that you know about, and we have plans to renovate the equipment at West Cambridge Park. I serve along with George Swindell on the commission, and our commission is growing more senior. So we ask now that, if you take in trash, bring it back out with you, because the city just doesn't have the manpower to do all that needs to be done at all our parks. And having said that, I want to say thank you, Mayor, and the county, for putting money together to help take care of that. Having said that, I wanted to ask you this question that I've become aware of. The historic district of the Mill Village, on the west side. Can you speak to what all you all are planning? I've heard a little bit about doing there.
Yeah, and thank you for reminding me, Charles. We do have a meeting of the Greenwood Mill Village Tuesday evening. I want to say 6 o'clock. We'd love to have a lot of folks come out, because that has been an idea to put that entire neighborhood into the state historic registry. That's a process that does not come with restrictions, despite some urban myths about what that designation would entail. That does not come with restrictions. Now, if you do want some federal dollars in terms of loans, there may be some restrictions on there. If you don't want to access any federal dollars, you don't have to, and there would be no restrictions. There is a potential that if you do want to access federal low-interest loans, that there would be some restrictions. But it's essentially recognizing the historic nature of that community. I mean, those homes were built 100 and 100-plus years ago and were built to last, obviously. Whether it's there, Matthews Mill Village, even Harris Mill Village also, which is built a little bit later. Those homes were built to last. And so we would love to have all the folks come out, because there is a development planned at the Kitson Mill site, mixed use apartments and commercial there right along Maxwell Avenue. But the idea is to keep the nature of those buildings in line with the historic nature of the community, brick, and make sure it makes sense and meshes with that historic community. What we see in the Greenwood Mill Village, and I know you live there, and what you see is a lot less than some other mill villages. You see more owner occupied, whereas in some other mill villages, and it's really no fault of their own, these homes are passed down, and you have 8 heirs, 16 heirs, 32 heirs, and they move to Florida or they move away, and they rent them out, and renters don't care about their property like owner occupied. It should not. It should not. That's right. That's right. Yeah, being in a designated historical area. But I look forward to learning more about the process Tuesday night as well. So, yeah. Yes, ma'am. Oh, sorry. Was there some? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I was calling on people.
I'm glad for this opportunity. I live in the neighborhood of the Gray Street Park, and it's the jewel of the crown. It's really nice, and but there is an issue there. I walk a lot in that neighborhood. I know other people do, and now with the park there, there's a draw to come down and use it other than driving into the area. There are no sidewalks on that last block all the way down to 72. And it's very difficult. You'll have to walk out into the street, which is often really busy. And my question would be, is there any plans to add a sidewalk there?
For that specific issue, let me get with you and see exactly where that is, so I can address that. I'm unfamiliar with exactly where that is, but
Where the entrance to that part of the new park is. Coming down Gray Street. It's the last block of Gray Street, because then it becomes Cokesbury.
Okay.
Yeah. And so children or adults who are wanting to access by foot the park, you have to walk out into the street.
Okay.
And on the side of the street, there are gullies. So you can't necessarily walk into the gullies, or you don't want to. So is
Gotcha.
that good enough?
I'm not aware of any specific plans, but can certainly look into that and let you know, because that does make sense. If we want these areas to be walkable from the communities that surround them. So I'm unaware of that specific issue or any plans, but it's, again, I appreciate being made aware of it, because we probably should be aware of that.
Yeah. Whoever really cares. Thank you.
Thank you. In fact, after I play tennis, I'll drive by there and look at it and report that.
Hello, I'm talking regarding Section 8 housing. What happened is I checked out around 50 different places in Greenwood County, and a lot of them don't accept Section 8. And I'm trying to find the first floor, and different ones say they don't have any first floor Section 8. They no longer accept Section 8. So now I'm going to wind up having to move way in another county so far from here. That's why I was trying to find out from him about where I plan on moving to, if they have a democratic place for me to go to there. And I said, I would love to stay right in Greenwood County like I've been since I've been here since 2014, Detroit, Michigan. But it's hard to find anywhere except Section 8.
Yeah. Well, welcome. Have you spoken to the Greenwood Housing Authority, Patrick
Yes.
Prince over there?
Not Dr. Prince, but my regular Section 8 work I had since I've been down here.
I would encourage you to speak directly with Patrick Prince, the director of GHA. Again, they have somewhat limited resources also, but I have found him to be a great resource. Patrick Prince is his name, and I'm happy to share his contact with you afterwards.
Thank you.
Because I have seen him be able to help folks with specific issues before.
Thank you, because I got a whole list of different places, and different ones say, we don't accept Section 8. We don't have anything available. And then with the income I get, a certain amount of money, you can only get like a house for $800, an apartment for $850, and you can't find a place like that in Greenwood.
Right. We know we've got a housing issue in terms of folks that need affordable housing, which is a different issue from some of our other housing issues. And so we do have some housing units being built, some subsidized housing units being built in the West Side community that, again, I wish it could happen sooner rather than later. They did not qualify this last year for funding, but I'm optimistic next year they will, and they will be built. And so it can't come soon enough to address some of those specific needs. But I'm gonna get you in touch with Patrick Prince because he may be able to help you.
That'd be beautiful, because my voucher is going to expire pretty soon, too.
Right.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Good morning, Mayor. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
In my neighborhood, there's a problem of dumping trash. I can't say it's the people that live there or whether it's people that come into the neighborhood. My question is there any way that we could possibly get a camera put in that area so whomever is dumping can be fined?
Yes, there is a chance for a camera. If you let me know exactly where you are, we are looking for those hot spots. Amber Napier and our city public works team, we do have cameras, but at the same time, we can't be everywhere. So if we know the hot spots, we would love to be able to put a camera there. I can't say that that's not going to mean they won't dump somewhere else where there's not cameras, and I am absolutely in favor of stricter enforcement laws. Sometimes I don't even understand this dumping. They're driving, I mean, a lot of it's dumping within the city, but sometimes I feel like folks are driving to dump where they could drive just as far and use one of our recycling centers or our convenience centers. It just doesn't make any sense to me. But if we know the hot spots, because like I said, sometimes I feel like it's whack-a-mole and we're just chasing the problems around, but we're never going to stop trying. So where do you live specifically?
Magnolia Place.
Magnolia Place, okay.
Mm-hmm. There's only one dumping area that they use.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm absolutely, I mean, that is probably one of the biggest issues that to me and that we face is cleaning up, because I see folks like you who want to clean up Greenwood but feel like they're trapped in some areas where people just don't care.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Great. Well, Mayor, we certainly appreciate you coming and talking with us.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all for having me, and I'm sure there's other topics I could come back and spend an entire session on, but thank y'all.